It's Friday.
Yeah.
Hi, guys.
Friday,
Happy
ladies.
Friday. We've made it. So glad you've joined us today, and I can't think of a better place for me to be than with you both here in the kitchen, and to Kim.
Hi, Kim.
In Nashville, your kitchen. Glad to have you back with us here on our Friday edition of See, Hear, Love. Thanks for joining us. How are you, Kim?
I'm good. I love Fridays.
I do too. We all love Fridays. We're gearing up for the weekend, and that's what I love about Flashback Fridays and our favorite things, because we're equipping our viewers with some great resources and inspirational ideas as they launch into the weekend. And I know for you guys, you're going to be super busy this weekend.
Yes.
Yes, we always are, but make sure we get some rest and relaxation. Well, all week we have talked about fears.
Yes.
We started on Monday looking at Isaiah 41:10. On Wednesday, we shared very honestly and openly about our greatest fears and how we've overcome and walked through them. And now, on Friday, we're actually going to sort of wrap it up with some flashbacks, and actually with one of our favorite things, our favorite woman hero who has been fearless, because it's always good to look back and see other women who have done or are doing fearless things that we can be inspired by.
Love it.
Right? Yeah. So this is going to be a great, great show, and hopefully an inspiring, encouraging show as you go into the weekend. So who wants to start with their flashback picture? Abby?
Okay.
I can see Abby going, yeah, got it.
This is actually one of my favorite photos, and I found it, I think when we were moving, my mom was unpacking things, but it's actually of my grandparents. And my grandma may have been in her 20s, and it looks like they're on a date, coming out of the movies, holding hands, walking, and it's just the most beautiful, as black and white. I just love that era. Like, it's just, it's stunning. And I love seeing the love between them, because you never get that perspective of your grandparents, right?
That's good.
And this actually, my papa, and he passed away when I was, I think, 3 years old. So I didn't really know him that well. But he's super handsome in this photo. And my grandma is amazing. She's now married to my step-grandpa, who is 100 years old, and he is amazing too. But yeah, I just love this flashback, because it's like, dating in the old days. Like, they went to a movie the same way we did, and it's so sweet.
Yeah, I love that.
Young love.
Beautiful. And we can see that picture beautiful. I love black and white pictures.
Yeah,
I do.
me too.
Kim, what about your flashback?
You know, my flashback is actually a picture of me and my mom. I love my mom.
Nice.
And she's like this brilliant artist, and there's a couple of her paintings behind her there. And I shouldn't do bangs again. That's what I this flashback photo. But that's okay. We grow up. So just my mama. She's just precious. I'm going to talk a bit more about her later, too.
Okay, awesome, beautiful. Cheryl, what about your flashback?
My flashback, I promised my children against their wishes that I would highlight them throughout the time I'm here. So number one up on the docket is my firstborn. His name is Malik, and this picture is him graduating high school. And I wanted to talk about him because he actually gave me, I'm really big on quotes and mantras and things that just get me going. And he has a wonderful testimony about this. He's now currently at University of Windsor. He's in pre-law. He has an undergrad in social justice. Social justice. He wants to change the world like his mom. We want to change the world. And he was having a rough time in his first year, just being a young man of faith and being on your own 5 hours away, 4.5 hours away, dorm life. And he was really struggling, and so he wrote something. He made a poster for himself that he put above his bed, and he took a picture and he sent it to us, and I tell you, it just changed everything for me. And it just said, remember why you're here.
That's good.
I like that.
Yeah,
and so I love him for that, because he always says, when I feel overwhelmed and I want to give up, he says, Mom, remember why you're here. And I just want to encourage people that God has a purpose. He has a plan. And I just want to thank my son for that moment of reminding us that, no matter what it looks like, there's a reason why we're here.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So good.
This is my flashback. This is probably 1996. Which you can figure out how old I was here. And this is a really important moment, because when we're talking about fear, this is the start of our 2-day road trip up to the Yukon, which is northern Canada, where we as Bible college kids, to pay for our tuition, decided to go up to the Yukon and just work. We had no idea where. We're just going to go up. We got billeted by a church up in Watson Lake, Yukon, 10 minutes north of the BC border, British Columbia border. No idea what to do. We went up, and I'm going to tell you, in that car ride, everybody was laughing, saying, Mel, you will be the first one to go. There's no way you're going to deal with the mosquitoes, being up north, right? You're not going to be able to do it. Guess what happened, ladies and gentlemen? I was the last one to leave. I loved the Yukon, and it's my absolute, one of my favorite places where you sit and you look at the northern lights. You walk the Chillicoot Trail, you kayak. I went to Juneau, Alaska. What I'm saying, though, is this flashback is meaningful is because it was something I didn't think I could do, be away that long in a very, I don't say foreign, but different place, getting money, different people, out of my comfort zone, and yet I was the last one to go. And the next year, I came back and I worked in the mining recorder's office staking gold, where the gold is up north, made a ton of friends, worked with the church, and actually was part of a number of people coming to know Jesus through our relationship with those people in the Yukon. And what that said in my early 20s was, man, when God's in it, you go, even if it's in the Yukon. And so that is a picture of the start of a 2-year adventure with Bible college friends who are still my friends, 26, 25 years later, making a change in the world. And so that was my first taste in this flashback picture.
That is so cool.
Totally fun. Totally fun. Really great. Wow, great flashback. Now we're going to transition, which is one of my actually favorite times of the week as well, along with Women Crush Wednesday, is our favorite things. And we're talking about our favorite woman heroes, woman hero who has been fearless and why. So this is an interesting, because we have no idea what you're each, what are you going to say. Kim, why don't you kick us off? Who is your, I think I have a sense, your woman hero?
I have so many women that I adore and admire and look up to, so many, but I chose my mom because she has just been one of the greatest examples ever. Now, my mom and I are completely opposite people. She is like, she's 5 foot on the dot. She is just calm and precious. And I'm like my Pentecostal preacher father, just like, woo, out there. And she just, though, has this, I call it just this quiet wisdom. And she has been married to my father for 45 years almost, preacher's wife. And I have watched her all my life just walk through some very hard things. I've watched, like, both my parents walk through difficult stuff. I've watched them try new things. I've watched them just journey paths that they didn't expect. But my mom, through all of that, I'm going to cry. She has just been the most amazing woman. I've never heard the woman complain.
Wow.
Ever. I have just watched a woman that just always went, and this is what we do now. And this is where we're going now. And has always just quietly and calmly trusted her Jesus. Like, she just takes it literally. When he says, I will be with you, she believes he will be with me.
That's great.
And she has walked that road, and I've watched her face health issues, also have 3 daughters, and everything she has done. And a lot of things where she should have been, maybe was very afraid, I'm sure she was, she still exuded the peace of Jesus all the time. Absolutely. She's one of the most amazing women I know.
So great.
So good.
So great.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. And I love that you brought in the picture before in Flashback for that. So thank you, Kim, for that. Oh, good one. Great. Cheryl, what about you?
I actually went a little bit more historic for mine. I chose Viola Desmond, one of my heroes, and I'm so moved by her. I actually wrote a play about her, I just, I love her as a Canadian hero because, there's a whole page to our history that a lot of people aren't aware of. 1940s, Halifax, Dartmouth, New Glasgow, it was segregated, and there was segregation everywhere. And here's a woman, her car broke down on her. She had some time to kill. She went to Rosewood Cinema, just was watching a movie, and ended up stumbling into history by sitting in what they deemed was the wrong section, and she didn't see any harm in that, and how she navigated herself and how she challenged the system and went to the Supreme Court, and now is the first female on the face of our $10 bill.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you,
Amazing.
Canada.
Right.
Thank you, Canada. She just did it all with dignity and grace, and I think it's a beautiful tie-in to what you said, Kim, that one of the things she said is there's a right way and a wrong way to make change.
Right.
And I love that about her.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great
So good.
choice.
Yeah.
Fearless woman.
Fearless.
Great hero.
Good.
Thank you. Abby, what about you?
So I also went more historic and even further. I actually picked a woman from the Bible. I actually had not known about her until just this last year, and I read her story, and I may be partial to her, but her name is Abigail.
Wow, I wonder.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So great name, but she, I actually read her story, and I think I read it on a devotional as well. And I just was like, who is this woman? She stood up and defended her husband, who was a horrible man, and treated her horribly, but she did it because she knew that he wasn't in his right mind in the way he insulted the king. And so she went groveling. Like, she had nothing to do with it. She had no fault in this, but she did it. And the Lord honors her. And I read it and I just was so like, why would you defend such a horrible man? Like, you know, but she did it, and the Lord brings justice. And after that, like, not only does King David, you know, give her favor after he accepts the gifts she brings him, but he then, after her, you know, the Lord actually then strikes her evil husband dead. But then David sends for her and says, come be my wife. And I'm like, yes, like, it's just a victory story to me. So
Great. I like that one.
had crazy fearlessness. And, you know, I love, if you read in the Bible, it's crazy what she packs up on her donkeys, like 100 cakes and like, and just, I just love it. I'm like, what kind of a woman would do that? And she did, and the Lord honors her. And I love it.
That's a great one. So Abigail.
Abigail.
Well, I think for ours, thank you, Abby. I did the same. And I actually went back because this woman, what a hero of mine, in Luke, in the Bible, 7:36-50. She's actually an unnamed woman. And I love that. Specifically, she's an unnamed woman, no name. Jesus is at home at the Pharisees having dinner. She knows he's there. And she comes crying, and it makes me emotional because I think when you're confronted with Jesus, you cry because you know that he loves you.
Right.
They actually say she's a sinful woman. No name, but a sinful woman. She goes in and, overcome with emotion, weeps on Jesus' feet, dries his feet with her hair, and then breaks a jar of perfume over his feet. And of course the Pharisee, Simon, is like, what in the world? And he says to himself, which is fascinating in the scripture, if only Jesus knew what kind of woman, he would absolutely not have her touch him. And then Jesus looks to Simon and responds, I have something to tell you, and then goes into, and you need to check this out in the scripture. He says to Simon about the two debtors. One had great debt, one had little. It's forgiven, and says to Simon, which debtor would be more overjoyed by this? And he says, well, the one, of course, that had the most debt, forgiven. He goes, exactly. It's exactly the situation here where, Jesus says, for those who have been forgiven much debt or been forgiven a lot, they receive my love more. And those who haven't forgiven little, then don't understand my love as much. And so he uses this fearless, unnamed woman to make a point to a religious Pharisee person.
Love it.
Who basically brings him down and says, here's the teaching point. This woman is greater. Woman, your sins are forgiven. And Simon's like, and you can imagine all the Pharisees going, so this woman takes these men from here, high and mighty religious people, and from that act of submission and brokenness, and knowing her sin, embraces Jesus, runs to him and says, I know who you are, Jesus. I love you. And you can imagine the brokenness. And it makes me emotional because I understand that kind of relationship. I understand as a woman who's made horrible, sinful choices in my own life, to approach Jesus and to know that he looks and says, I know who you are.
Right.
but guess what? You're forgiven.
Yeah.
And,
So
and he says it
beautiful.
twice to her. You're forgiven. Oh, and now you're forgiven again. And those men, the religious people, are shamed. And so she is so my hero, this woman, because, and again, not known, not a name, a pariah of society, and Jesus esteems and lifts her up in a teaching moment of love.
I heard something
Beautiful.
so amazing about that
Yeah.
forgiveness twice piece. I'll just share
Yeah.
quickly that the first one was for her and the second one was for them.
Yeah.
For
It's
them to hear.
here. So
Yeah.
because the sense of, this is what I love, and again, I'm not a theologian, but when he's saying to Simon, she wiped my tears, he's actually talking to Simon, but looking at her as he's saying this. Is I do that too to Chris, my husband. I'll be like talking to somebody, but I'm really wanting him to hear it just to make a point. Right? And he says that, and it's like, she's forgiven. Oh, wait, just so you all know, she's forgiven.
Yeah.
This woman that you have thought has been disgusting and untouchable.
I love it.
I love her and forgive her. And so that hero of mine, this unnamed woman who I want to make up a name.
Yeah.
But it's just like, but I think that's really important about, she's unnamed.
Love it.
But Jesus saw her and forgave her sins. And so for those people who feel unnamed
Yeah.
and outside of society and not worthy,
Yeah.
man, run to him. Wow.
And I was just going to say, my heart is bursting, and here's my sum up. So if you're standing fearless against trauma and just life storms as your mother, if you're standing against a domestic situation and maybe violence in your home, if you're standing up against religion and religious mindsets, or you're standing against segregation and racial injustice, God is for you.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, for
Yeah.
you all the way.
God is for you.
Yep.
Fearless woman, God is for you. He stands for you. He goes before you. He is your shield.
Love it.
Great.
Thank you. Ladies, we are out of time. And again, remember to our viewers, like, we have all this conversation, we get to talk in the makeup room and green room after, but we are continuing the conversation on our blog posts. And again, please make comments, ask us questions about the verses, the people. All of these people will be up online. And check out our social media. We're going to be making hits and talking about that as well. But thank you for joining us. It is an honor for you to join us on Monday, Wednesday, Friday to hear our thoughts. These are just our thoughts. For some of us, we're not theologians or preachers. This is just from our walk with Jesus, who we know loves us, forgives us, with open arms, loves us no matter where we're at in life. So again, have a great weekend. Cheryl, Abby, Kim, have a great weekend.
Bye.
And we will see you on Monday. Bye-bye.